Hi, Ron, Chris here, and welcome back to another review. This time it's a 4K projector. This one was sent out to me in exchange for my review. It's the Nebula Cosmos Max. So this does have a maximum output of 1500 lumens. It runs Android TV, and it has a quad-core processor, which does run the UI fast, fluid, and smooth without any noticeable lag or issues. Widevine level 1 cert, and it also does have 3D audio. In fact, this is the world's first 4K projector with 3D audio. And as you hear later on in this in-depth review from my sample, it's actually impressive, the built-in speakers. So in this in-depth review, I will take, of course, a look at the image quality, both in complete darkness, a bit of ambient light as well, and let you know my thoughts on that. And also how the fans are on this. Are they super loud? Is it going to be really distracting? That will all be covered. And my overall experience in using this projector now for the last 2 weeks. The Cosmos Max comes well packaged up with a lot of padding around the outside. So just underneath this right here, you'll find our accessories here. So it does come with a remote, as you can see, and this one has a microphone in it because it supports Google Assistant. There is a little bit of paperwork right here. So this is a quick start guide. See everything we need just to get set up and up and running here, and our power supply. So this particular power supply here is a Hunt Key 1. I've seen many of these around, normally powering laptops and gaming notebooks. This is 180 watts that it is rated to, and they have also included a EU cable, of course, and this one's very easy to source a replacement. It's just using that Mickey Mouse style connector there, as you can see. And a quick look at our build and design now. So the plastics on the Cosmos Max here that they have used. So plastics on the bottom, there's a little bit of metal here around the outside, it feels like to me, an alloy that they've used. Very good, high quality. So our lens right here, this is a 4K projection, of course, 4K 60 Hertz. And we do have built-in 360-degree surround speakers just to give you that better immersion with this. Now the keystone correction on this particular lens here is 40 degrees plus or minus horizontally and vertically, and it also does have an autofocus of about 3 seconds. And it's probably aided by this little camera that is right there. So very quick to focus there. Now the lens, the duration of the LED that's in this is supposed to be rated for 30,000 hours here. So that's quite a bit. It should be very, very reliable. And on the back here too, you can see we've got the 3/8 of an inch thread. So that's a standard camera tripod thread there. So you'll be able to mount this and put it on top of a tripod. Or there are other mounting points here too if you wanted to ceiling mount this and have it pointing out and projecting on a wall, for example, there. Intake vents all around. We do have 4 pads there on the bottom, very solid rubber pads. That is if you were going to be, of course, sitting this on a table. So here on the back of it, you can see our inputs. So we've got HDMI 2. There's the 2.0A, so 4K 60, and this one does support ARC as well. If you have devices that support that, it can power it up automatically once they power on. That's the power in, of course, and 2 USBs here for example, a flash drive. If you're going to put a video onto it, you can play it then through this. It does have support for Google Play Store, your apps, and everything around that I'll get into as well in this video. Power on button right here too as well, and we do have an optical audio out. So first I'll jump into the image quality to start off with, because this is the most important thing, is just how bright it is. How does it look here? So this is a 4K demo clip from YouTube here. And what I've got it stretched out to here, because of the width of my room, is a throw ratio giving me of about 2 meters, giving me about 100, and I've just measured it, almost 100-inch screen. So that is very, very big. And let me just show you a quick comparison to a 43-inch TV. That's the TV there down on the floor, sitting on the floor, and you can just see how much bigger this is. 100-inch, if I just move the camera up right now, absolutely massive here. Now, I cannot take a full advantage of the 150 inches that this could project, but I need then almost close to 4 meters of distance to be able to achieve that, which I simply don't have in any of the rooms in my house. So I do hope you can see here this little cute squirrel here eating away with this sample clip, that it looks very, very good. The colors are rich, they are vibrant, it is bright. Now I don't have any lights on. I've turned off all the lights, I've closed all the windows just to demonstrate to you the kind of clarity you can get out of the screen. So 4K, it does look sharp. Even at this 100 inches, it still looks very, very sharp and detailed from where I am standing here looking at this screen. So really good. But what I'll do now is I'm going to open the windows up here to show you what it looks like with a little bit of daylight. Is it still viewable? So that's it now with the windows open. It's actually a cloudy day today, so if it was a little bit more sunnier, we wouldn't actually see this as good as it's being displayed now. Now I'm trying to represent this in my capture here using my camera as best as possible to give you an example of just what this looks like. So with a little bit of ambient light coming through, which is currently around the area of 300 lux or so. Now this can output a maximum, at least from the projection, 1500 lux. But once it is on your wall, that is then about 1000 lux there. So it's still bright. Now look at those blacks there where the bits of wood are. So you can see there's some wood in the background behind this grill. The black bits on it still looking quite dark. So that is very good to see. It's gray. It's not pitch black like an OLED. You're never going to get that, of course, with projectors. So we have these settings here for the projector. Now you've got color temperature settings. If you wanted to adjust that, you don't like it being normal, you're more of a cool white person, you'll prefer warm white, you can simply just change that over. These are the normal kind of settings you would have normally with these anyway. Your wall color, so I have that set to white because I'm using a white wall here. And you really do need a massive, huge room. As I mentioned before, you've got a big room with at least 4 meters, then you can get the full 150 inches. Keystone correction here, so I keep that on auto, but you can turn it off auto. And this is if you don't have it lined up exactly straight, so you may need to adjust this. So the vertical keystone correction, you can adjust this. See how now it is moving vertically up or down? So if you have it, say from a ceiling mount and it's not pointed, or it has to point down a little bit, that's where you would go in here and correct that to get it lined up and looking perfect. Horizontal correction is there as well, and then you're able to change the whole thing to each little different quad here, square, your horizontal and vertical. You're able to do that through the settings. But I'll get out of that and I'll put it back onto auto because that's really all I need the way I have it set up. And then we have our zoom settings here. So this one I wouldn't be touching. That'll always be on 100 because why would you buy an expensive projector to then size the screen down? But hey, you might have to do this, or you want to do this, and you can see that the smaller you make it, that will become a little bit sharper, of course. It's just the way it's going to look with a projection. Bringing that image in, looks sharper. Projection mode, auto. So this is where you would configure this. If you had it mounted on, say, your ceiling, then you would want the inverted front projection. Okay, and you can swap that over there. But it's got a sensor built into it. Auto would detect that anyway. So now you can see that should swap over. Well, I'll stick it onto front projection again. It's just when it powers up, it automatically detects that. And no really other interesting settings. Well, picture settings here too. You can tweak this one. The brightness, that is always at 100% here for me, just to demonstrate how bright it is, of course. Contrast and advanced settings where you can go into the gain, the hue, saturation, and your gamma as well. You can tweak that. So still on the topic of the image quality as well, I wanted to show you that if you needed to focus it, once you've already got it set up, you simply press this one dedicated button. So there's a Google Assistant button, but above it is the focus button. You tap that, you can see now it's using that little camera in there to get an exact focus to make sure the image is sharp. And this is the UI here. So running Android TV 9, the UI is smooth, it is fluid, and fast here. Even though it's a quad core, it's got the 2 gigabytes of RAM, 16 gigabytes of storage. Not a lot, but it is enough here to run these menus fine without any problems, without any noticeable lag or slowdown. Very much like a modern smart TV. So via the App Store on here with Google Play, you can install certain applications. Now, a lot of the ones that you would maybe install on this would be, of course, related to TV, like Netflix, Amazon Prime TV. But this is DRM info, just to confirm that this does have what it needs, and that is to have, well, it's got the HDR10 support here, but it also has here Widevine support. So you jump into Google Widevine, DRM, scrolling down here, you can see that it has a level 1 cert, security level 1, and that's what we want. So Netflix, Amazon Prime, all of that will be in full HD, 4K as well, which is great. And you'd expect that, of course, with an expensive projector like this. Disney Plus as well, support, and all your different apps that you can, of course, install on this. So this would be great for live sports, having such a big, huge screen. And let's take a look at now some other content with this. And this is Amazon Video, so this one is running just great. This is The Expanse. So obviously, I cannot show you too much of this because I will get flagged for copyright reasons. So this is just out of fair use. I can show you a tiny little bit of this. So the blacks here are looking pretty good for a projector. It's not super black, as I mentioned before. It's a dark grey, but still, for projectors, not that bad at all. So how does the menu system run here? Is it fast? It doesn't really seem to have any slowdown. Again, it seems pretty quick to me. Going through the menus, loading things up, is about the same speed as my new 220 smart TV that I have, one from LG, and it seems about the same, if not perhaps a little bit faster here with this one. So you can see the menu system's all running quick, no noticeable lag, Wi-Fi is working good range, good reception, and great speeds out of it too. Now the last test I want to do is a little bit of 4K gaming on my PS4 Pro. So gaming on a 100-inch projection does look really, really good. Super immersive, and even those speakers, using it with the PlayStation, really, really good. Very nice, super immersive. Looking around here, it does look really sharp and great. The only thing, if I was to criticize the image, it is those blacks. The blacks are not super deep. Of course, being a projected image onto a white wall, they're a dark grey instead of being a deep black, and that's just what projectors are. You're not going to be able to get OLED-like deep blacks out of a projector. But really sharp image, looks great, no issues with flickering, no problems there at all. So we have the surround 360-degree speakers on these, and 40 watts. They do sound pretty good. Now, could you use these if you didn't have a surround system, you didn't have a 5.1 or 7.1 setup, and you wanted to use this as just a in-between before you get yourself the good home cinema audio? You could get away with it. It's got bass, it's clear, it is loud as well, and here's just a quick sample of one of my clips here with some audio in it, and it's at 100% volume, which is super powerful, by the way. It does sound pretty good for a projector's own built-in speakers. I must say they are impressive, but personally I would still go for the proper big huge speakers, the surround setup, if you really want that total home cinema immersion and feeling, of course. But here's the sample. And here lastly is a sample of the fan noise. So this is something you're going to have with any projector. They need to be cooled. The components in their projection does get warm. I put my hand up to the back of it and there's a lot of hot air being pushed out the back. Now it's not going to be over 32 decibels, but if you sit next to the projector, you will definitely hear the constant hushing, whooshing noise of the fan on. Here is a sample of it. And this is after running the projector non-stop now for almost 4 hours. All right, so let me just recap here now. After a couple of weeks of using this, my findings. So the 1500, the ANSI lumens that this can output isn't exactly the brightest in the market. I know there are other ones out there that can do quite a bit more. So it is going to be dependent on the certain environment that you're going to be using this projector in. So if you intend to use this in a large room and you're going to be with a throw distance of the full 150 inches especially, and then you're not going to have all your blinds closed or always going to have ambient light, then of course it's not going to give you that super great image quality. But for me here, especially when I close all the blinds, the shutters in this particular room that I'm in, with the 105 inches or so that I'm projecting out to, the image looks great, really good. And you notice the 4K, there's just so much more detail, depth, that added resolution versus the 1080p. You notice it, especially when you're blowing it up to the huge 105 or 150 inches there. And as I mentioned with the blacks, so I am projecting onto a white wall here. Of course, I know there's going to be a lot of comments if I use the black wall, but I wasn't willing to paint my whole wall with a special projector paint here. Unfortunately, just for one video, no. But if I was going to set this up as my home projector theater room, then I would probably do that, and I would use a special paint, of course, for that. And then my black levels would be, of course, so much more better. Projecting onto a black wall, that is, and you'd configure this in the settings to a black wall as well. I had it all set for a white wall. So, of course, it's not OLED levels that I'm used to with my TV, and you get those super deep blacks. With a projector, they're all the same. You're never going to get or achieve those kind of black deep levels. Saying that though, with some of the samples I showed you with the little squirrel, the background there, you could see that it was actually quite black, and it's not too bad. So maybe I was over exaggerating a little bit on that. The audio performance on this, built-in speakers, 3D audio, I wasn't really honestly expecting much. I thought, yeah, it'd be average, just be marketing. But when you hear them, they're actually not too bad at all. So 40 watts, they output a nice amount of bass, good trebles and good mids. It's never going to replace a 7.1 surround system or 5.1 or even just a 2.1 setup. No, it's not going to be able to replace that. Of course not. But if your idea of using this is, say, going into a boardroom or something and getting all the blinds down, turning it on, and not having to plug in separate additional speakers to get good audio or loud audio that everyone can hear, this can certainly do it with those built-in speakers, and they have really impressed me. Now, the UI performance, it's fast, it's smooth, and everything's working there just fine. Widevine level 1 cert, of course, with Android. Now, it does have a security patch level of November 2020. I hope that firmware updates and future software updates will bring that up to, say, February or March would be great later on. And then, of course, the fan noise, which is always there with projectors. We've got a lot of heat being generated with the projection there. By the way, this is supposed to last for 30,000 hours too, so check that out as well. It's something very important because there's other models out there on the market too. Some of them are only 10,000 hours or 15,000 hours. This one is 30. But the fan noise, yes, it's definitely there, but it's under about 32 decibels. And to put it into perspective, it is about the same level of fan noise as my PlayStation 4 Pro puts out. So you can hear it if you sit next to it. You're going to hear a constant whooshing of that fan, and occasionally it does pick up the RPM and become a little bit louder. But if you're not sitting right next to it, then you probably won't hear it at all, especially with the speakers on your surround system. So there we go, that is the Cosmos Max. I do actually really like this one. I think it's a great projector. So thank you so much for watching my take, my review on this particular model here. And I do hope to see you back in the channel with more up and coming reviews.